I'm Marcus Seelig. I'm the new Colorado Program Director for National Forest Foundation. I just started in January with the organization, but thank you so much for coming. This is a great group of folks and perfect weather. It's wonderful to be up here and to be celebrating the Ski Conservation Fund. And I just wanted to start by giving a little background on NFF and on the Ski Conservation Fund for those who are maybe a little less familiar with the program, to explain how it works and why we have so many great partners here today. And it's been great for me the last 6 months getting up to speed on this, because there's a lot of intricacies to the Ski Conservation Fund on how the grants work and how the money comes in. And I'm going to try to summarize it pretty quickly. But basically, we have some great partners out there: Vail Resorts, Copper Mountain, and A Basin, that help out by giving their guests, the visitors here, an opportunity to donate to the National Forest Foundation Ski Conservation Fund, to give back to the forests that they're enjoying while they're out skiing or while they're out camping and hiking. The whole reason that people come to this area is to enjoy the National Forest, and this is an opportunity for them to give back. So through their what I call micro donations, $1 here, $2 there, by visiting the resorts, we really pull together a lot of money. And putting together these displays up here was really enlightening for me. I mean, you think of how many people it takes giving $1 and $2 to get to the $3 million that the Ski Conservation Fund has raised since 2006, since we started collecting funds. And it's pretty incredible. And we've really made a lot of difference with that $3 million micro donation collection that we've had. I have some numbers up here that just kind of blow me away on the number of people employed. We have 3,426 youth employed or engaged since 2006. Over 12,000 volunteers, and that's great. I mean, the National Forest Foundation is set up to restore and protect the National Forest System lands and to engage Americans in using those lands. And so if we get 12,000 volunteers out there, that's true engagement. Those are people out here doing the work, appreciating the stewardship of our land, and it wouldn't be possible without the partners who run those volunteer efforts and the resorts that collect the funds to help support those groups. So the Ski Conservation Fund, we collect those donations. When we hit a certain amount on an annual basis, and semi-annual basis sometimes, we grant out those funds to nonprofits. So some of the groups that are here, FDRD, Rocky Mountain Youth Corps, I'm not going to name them all, they're all up here. They get grants from National Forest Foundation, get out on the ground, get their hands dirty and do the projects that need to be done: trail maintenance, stream restoration, all those different types of activities. So we have people engaged. We have over 4,600 miles of trails restored and maintained. We have 12,880 trees planted, 308 acres of wildlife habitat restored, 313 miles of stream restored. There's a lot more numbers, a lot more stuff that's been done just in the last, how many years is that? 7 years? A lot more numbers. Those were the big ones that I pulled out that I thought people would be interested in, but really huge accomplishments. And it's done through partnership. It's done through people giving back. And we wanted to have this event to thank you all. Everyone here has played some role in the Ski Conservation Fund. So this event is to thank you, to celebrate the success we have, and just let you know how much we appreciate all the involvement from you all. So I'm going to hand over the mic to to Nikki from Vail Resorts. Vail Resorts is one of our huge partners in the Ski Conservation Fund. None of this would be possible without Vail Resorts. Nikki's going to say a few words, and then we'll hear from Jan, the district ranger. We'll hear from Sarah and Bob at FDRD talking about how FDRD uses this money. They use it in a kind of unique way, but it's because of how FDRD is set up that they partner with so many other organizations, so they really leverage the dollars that come through the Ski Conservation Fund. And we'll hear from Lorraine. I think Lorraine is here from Rocky Mountain Youth Corps. If she's here, we'll hear from her. If not, we won't. And we'll also hear from Gary from Copper as well. And anyone else who wants to say anything. So, Nikki, if you want to go ahead.
That's a list of speakers, so I'll keep this as brief as possible. Really, it's amazing. Something that started as a simple way to engage our guests and raise some money for the forest has turned into a remarkable program that has helped fund programs that we couldn't imagine doing 8 years ago. and Marcus stole my thunder. I was going to go through all the numbers. Really, those numbers really tell how the story of how successful this program has been. And actually, one stat that he didn't give that is something that is near and dear to my heart is almost 15,000 young people have been engaged because of this program. That's our future, and this program is enabling us to share our passion of this place with the young people, both here in Summit County, but across the country. And so that's something that this program has enabled us to do. Forest health is a primary focus for Vail Resorts, and the Ski Conservation Fund is really the cornerstone of that program. As we work to protect the streams and the rivers and the animals that make this place the most visited place in the country. The White River National Forest is the most visited forest anywhere in the country. Here in Summit County, our partnership has allowed us and our guests and all of our partners to fund local nonprofits who do the most critical work here. Without the funds and their commitment, projects that are critical would not get done, and that's inspiring. And it is that inspiration that we want to take out and tell the world about. As we head into our 8th year, we hope to share that inspiration, and I think that is something I challenge all of you today to help us do, is start sharing the story of the impact we're making, and something we're going to focus on as we move forward, so that we can inspire all those who call Summit County home and those who dream of the mountains 350 days a year and then come and visit us for the remaining time. Through these stories and the impact that we know that this program is successful and that we're going to continue to fund it. Really, this program is not successful with all of the partners, both us and Copper and A-Basin and all of the nonprofits, and especially the NFF for administering this program. They're really the champions, which is amazing. And together, we can all work to keep our forest healthy. So thank you for coming today and listening to us talk about all the cool things we've got going on.
Gary, can you come up and say a few words?
Thanks, Nikki. Yeah. I know there's a lot of speakers, and I'll just maybe add my perspective on the program. There's actually a gentleman who's not here who I have to give thanks to for opening my eyes to the opportunity to partner with the NFF, and that's Bob Bonar of Snowbird Mountain Resort in Utah. Snowbird was the first resort, I think, to have the relationship with the NFF, and in a meeting with Bob, he was outlining all the good that it was doing in their forest and in their neck of the woods, literally, and so we signed on, and other resorts followed, and I just think what really makes the program important for me is that we know the dollars are being spent right here in the White River National Forest, and as Nikki mentioned, this is the most heavily recreated forest in the United States, and for a reason. One is obviously the great skiing and the summer opportunities, but the businesses that are reliant on the White River National Forest, all of our communities. And, it's really, I think, an opportunity for us to do some things differently. We have a pretty unique mountain community, and when I look at Bob and Sarah and Jan Cutts and Shelley and Joe, the Dillon team, the Friends of the Dillon Ranger District are an example for other communities that are reliant on the National Forest, and I know are the envy of a lot of other communities within the National Forest. Our forest is under tremendous pressure right now. I was at a meeting actually earlier this winter season, and Harris Sherman was outlining the budget and the budgetary challenges of the Forest Service at the time. And Jim, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think it was like 50% of the budget is being spent on wildfire preparedness and firefighting right now. Huge numbers, billions of dollars. And we know if we're reliant on the government right now to do some of the things that we know need to be done in our forest, they're not going to get done. There's just not the resources. And so this is a tremendous opportunity for us to take care of our own backyard. And one of the things I have been talking to Marcus about is I think there's an opportunity to expand this program and involve more members of our community, because we could create an awesome model for the rest of the country right here in the White River and amongst all the businesses and communities that rely on the White River National Forest. So we're proud to be a part of it, and look forward to seeing it grow and do great things for many years to come. So thank you. Thanks, Jan.
Thanks, Gary. Well, goodness, my name is Jan Cutts. I'm the district ranger here on the Dillon Ranger District. I think I know many of you, if not all of you. Thank you so much for putting this on, Marcus and NFF. And Marcus asked me to talk a little bit about the value of the Ski Conservation Fund and that partnership that we've had. And I tell you, I've been here almost 5 years, and when I got here I was 6 feet tall. And I think just knowing how much we have to care for in this incredible place, the White River, the Dillon Ranger District, the weight that I carry, which has made me shorter, is I'd be 4 feet tall if it wasn't for the Ski Conservation Fund and the help that they give us to help our partners do the great work and the great stewardship that we do on the White River and on the Dillon Ranger District. And Marcus put these numbers together, and we've talked a little bit about them, but I'm actually going to talk about them a little bit more and bring them closer to home. The value of our partnerships. Our partners are Friends of the Dillon Ranger District, Friends of Eagles Nest Wilderness, VOC, I want to make sure I say them all, Colorado 14ers Initiative, Colorado Mountain Club, the Blue River Watershed Group, the Wylands Restoration Volunteers, the Student Conservation Association, and the Hill Foundation. That's a lot. I know forests don't have that many partners, and it's amazing that we've been able to have these partners working with us over the years and doing the great work that we're doing here. So I'm going to talk a little bit more about those numbers. So there's over 4,600 miles of trail maintenance and restoration that the Ski Conservation Funds have helped pay for and helped volunteers do, and that includes the Peaks Trail that we're going to walk on here in a little bit. Nearly 13,000 trees have been planted in campgrounds and day use areas, including the Blue River and McDonald's Flat Campground here on the Dillon District. Over 300 acres of wildlife habitat restored. Over 300 miles of streams restored, including FDRD projects on the Swan River, which Bob and I just saw a few weeks ago. Nearly 130,000 volunteer hours performed by over 12,000 volunteers. That's huge. That is huge. And I think about trying to get that work done with employees, and it's just not possible. Excuse me just a minute. I want to get these numbers right. And then we talked a little bit earlier, Nikki talked a little earlier about touching the youth. Thousands of youth have either been volunteers or been employed with this program. And I want to talk a little bit about the Hill Foundation. And the Hill Crew is 3 students from urban areas in Baltimore or Denver who come up every summer. And through the Hill Foundation, they have a stipend for living and housing, and the Ski Conservation Fund has paid for their crew leader for years now. And it's just a fantastic program, and those kids would not have their summers here without the help from the Ski Conservation Fund. So without partners like Vail Resorts, Copper Mountain, Arapahoe Basin, and I think that covered it. Yes? I got him. It's just amazing. You'll hear more people talking about, you'll hear from Bob and Sarah about the work that they're doing specifically here on the Dillon District, and it's just a fantastic program. Thank you all for your support. Thank you for being here tonight and enjoying this, and thanks for the great weather, whoever brought that. Bob and Sarah?
Thanks, Jan. Bob Cook I'm the new executive director for Friends of the Dillon Ranger District. I just got up here less than a month ago from the Front Range, and this is why people move to Colorado, is to try to get close to these mountains and to come up here. And it's a great opportunity for me to be able to serve and be able to give back by being part of this organization, and the National Forest Foundation by making it possible for us to have so much of our resources that we have available to do good up here through the Ski Conservation Fund really helps us to be able to do the work that we do. Sarah's going to be a little more specific about some of the things that we've been doing, but we've got a crew right now, for instance, up at McCullough Gulch that's working to do the good work up there through some of these funds that are available to us, Webster Pass, some invasive weed programming that we've taken out. We've got these Adopt-A-Trail projects that give back, where people will take on a project and make it their own throughout the whole process from beginning to end. Our Twilight projects that are made possible through SCF funds, where people can come after work and do some good to give back. This is a model, this area, Summit County and the Dillon Ranger District, for what's available for us to do outdoors to make things sustainable and stewardship-wise for years to come. And at times when so many of our government resources are involved in fire mitigation, it's good that we have such a strong volunteer opportunities that are provided from the funds, from SCF, from NFF, to be able to make these things happen. And I want to let Sarah have a chance to give us a little more specific about what FDRD is doing with that.
Hey guys, how you guys doing? Good. Yeah, so Marcus, I'm Sarah Slayton. I am the program manager with Friends of the Dillon Ranger District. So I wanted to talk, Marcus asked me to speak a little bit about what kind of work we've been doing specifically on the Peaks Trail, because it's a great example of funds put directly to work. So before I talk about that, I do have a cheat sheet, by the way. I'm glad you did, Jan. I just wanted to talk a little bit about the history of the Peaks Trail, because I think it's really interesting, and I think it explains a lot when you go out and see the work that we have been doing. So the Peaks Trail was originally cut in the mid-70s, and from my understanding, it was cut as kind of a connect the dots to different mining claims and mining areas. At that time, it was heavily used by winter use, cross-country skiing, some snowshoeing, things like that. But it was mainly kind of an access point. So it wasn't designed for mountain bikers or hikers or anything like that. And the official trail name back then was the Frickin' Ridge Trail, which I think is hilarious. That was actually the name. And because it connected Breckenridge and Frisco, in case you were wondering. So at some point in the early 80s, kind of trail users went to the county and to the Forest Service and said, hey, you know what, we're primarily using this for cross-country skiing, winter use. Can you fix it up a little bit so it's a little easier? So the Forest Service went out and kind of softened some curves and widened the trail a little bit. Mountain biking wasn't a big scene then. But at that point, the county was just developing the rec path. And that's why the rec path is so close to this trail to accommodate the bikers. But again, mountain biking wasn't quite in the scene yet. Also, kind of in the early to mid 80s, the Forest Service and the county were working together on getting the Wheeler Trail designated as a national recreation trail. And so they created this document called the Wheeler Complex. And in that, when there were a ton of national funds to support trails, part of that document was that any trail that fed into the Wheeler Trail, which is the Peaks Trail, would receive money to kind of spruce up the trail and things like that. So they did a lot more work on it then. And that's when it got designated as the Peaks Trail, because Frickin' Ridge wasn't quite PC apparently. So they changed that. And again, at this point, it was still primarily winter use. As it developed, as you guys know, if you've been on the trail now, it's like, I'd say 70% mountain bike use. That's my personal opinion. But it is a very heavily used trail. We kind of nickname it, and Scott, I don't know if you made this up or somebody else made this up. We call it the Chutes and Ladders Trail. Because it's got so many bridges and turnpikes and punch-ins, because it wasn't designed for the use that it gets today. But FDRD has been working really hard, along with a lot of other organizations, to kind of keep this trail sustainable, not quite love it to death. We've been working on kind of this end of the trail with a lot of different organizations. Town of Frisco has adopted this. They put a lot of work into it. SOS Outreach Society has brought a lot of youth out here. We've had a lot of on-demand groups. We're still currently working on kind of the Breck end of things. We work with Breckenridge Green Vacations. We've worked with VOC, Volunteers for Outdoor Colorado. Christie Sports, Summit Mountain Bikers. There's been a lot of Eagle Scout projects, a lot of on-demand projects, things like that. So we've been working on this trail for a really, really, really long time. And when I say we, I mean volunteers. I mean our staff, like Scott Fussell, who's probably been working on this trail since FDRD was founded. So if you have any questions about things, he's a great guy to ask because he's put a lot of development and time and energy along with the Forest Service into kind of bringing this trail up to use. And like I said, this trail sees a lot of different users and a lot of users. So far this summer, we have ranger patrollers who go out and just kind of collect data for the Forest Service, and we've had over 2,000 visitors this summer alone on this trail, and that's just people that we've talked to and connected with. And again, a lot of those are mountain bikers. So at some point we'll be walking out if you want to, just to check out some projects that are about a 10-minute walk out. As I mentioned, we've been working on kind of this end of the trail and also the Breckenridge end because it's a long trail, but I know the Youth Corps has been working a lot kind of in those sections in the middle that are a lot harder to access. So with that, I will hand it over to Lorraine. Oh, sorry. Just kidding.
So I just wanted to kind of make a little bit of a segue here. So with our Ski Conservation Fund, we can support specific projects or we can support programs. Through FDRD, we support their 2013 stewardship program this year. And it has a collection of projects, and they work with a bunch of different organizations when they're doing that. And that's one way we can do support, or we can do project-specific support. And when we work with Rocky Mountain Youth Corps, we actually identify a few projects and say these are the ones that we're investing in, and they help us then implement those. So we can do program-based or project-based. And I really appreciate you talking about the number of partners you work with because that speaks to the program-based. And Lorraine, maybe you could talk a little bit about the project-based grants that we give and how you implement those. So.
Thanks. Is this real?
Yeah.
Big gorilla. Okay. Hey everybody, I'm Lorraine. I work for Rocky Mountain Youth Corps. I'm a project manager for them. And actually, Sarah could have given a much more in-depth segue as she was a crew leader for us 3 years ago? 3 or 4 years ago, it all runs together. But I'm here today just to give you a little introduction, like they said, to some of the projects that they've been supporting and also connect back to that youth-centric sort of feel that we're going for. Just to give you some more background on Rocky Mountain Youth Corps, this is our 20th anniversary season. We were begun in 1993 by Gretchen Vandekar in Steamboat Springs, just as a community-centered program, and from there it has just snowballed, and we wouldn't exist if it weren't for the project partners that fund our work, because our crews are actually paid crews ranging anywhere from 14 to 25, and actually this year we went all the way up to 30 or 35 years old with our veterans crews. Our mission statement, I'll read you the long one real quick. We engage youth in the outdoors, inspiring them to use their strengths and potential to lead healthy, productive lives. We teach responsibility for self, community, and environment through teamwork, service, and experiential education. And the short version of that is that we link community, education, and environment through service. So all of our trail and chainsaw crews have an educational component that goes into them. They have to record service and education hours, so those are both big parts of the time they spend with us. This summer we have 11 Conservation Corps crews operating in the field. 2 of them right now are in Summit County. One is up at McCullough Gulch working on a rock turnpike there, and the other is doing some backcountry crosscut saw clearing for some of the wilderness areas. So like I said, seven of our crews are trail, and a couple of them are being funded directly by the National Forest Foundation, so we thank them for that. We have one historic preservation crew that's working in California Park outside Steamboat, and they will be shortly moving to Grand Teton National Park to work on a big cabin restoration back there. And then we have 3 chainsaw crews, 2 of which are actually veterans fire corps. So we are sort of preparing them for reentry back into the job market in the U.S. by creating future firefighters and things like that. That's a new program for us this year, so it's been a big deal to kind of try and integrate that into our model that we already had going. See here. So like I said, NFF, the National Forest Foundation, has been a big funder of our crews over the past 5, 6, maybe even 7 years. We've had quite a few projects with them, and I'm just going to run you through some of the things that we've accomplished real quick. We've constructed over the years 5 bridges with NFF money, cleared over 100 miles of trail corridor, removed thousands upon thousands of hazard trees, installed 1,300 feet of turnpike, which is the elevated tread that Sarah was mentioning earlier, which when you know how much work goes into that, it's pretty shocking, and installed over 300 water diversion structures on trails that need it. So this summer we've got crews, like I said, in the Eagles Nest Wilderness. They've worked on the Great Flume Trail, Booth Creek, Lower Cataract, the Colorado Trail, and then later this summer we'll have an NFF-funded Veterans Saw project out near Berry Creek outside of Edwards. So lots going on. Yeah, and I would hope to introduce myself before, but I was fashionably late, so I hope to meet everyone later. That's all I got.
So that's it for presentations. We have some great food here. Vail Resorts and NFF have partnered to sponsor this event. So enjoy some of the food, the drinks. Look at our displays. Here we have a list of all the different projects we're doing in Summit County this year. So take a look at that and look at the rest of these posters and really soak in some of those numbers that are being accomplished out there. Yeah, Steve. Sure, yeah, and then maybe we can just mingle and talk about all the different projects. But yeah, come on up and.
Because we have such a long list of partners and stakeholders, the only reason I wanted to do this. This is the first time the National Forest Foundation has given the Blue River Watershed Group money for a project. I'm the director of the Blue River Watershed. My name's Steve Swanson, and but for a long number of years, a lot of people have been working on a river restoration project out by Copper Mountain. It's along the 10-Mile Creek. It's going to be adjacent to the county's new rec path construction, which they have just started, and hopefully our contractor moves in by the 1st of August and is going to do the river restoration work. Also, there'll be wetlands construction and riparian habitat respiration. So it'll be a great recreational experience now for that area. The one reason I wanted to be here today is just to mention our partners and our stakeholders. By ourselves, this would never be possible. We could not do anything close to this. But we have the U.S. Forest Service, Climax Molybdenum, Copper Mountain Resort, the Northwest Colorado Council of Governments, QQ Committee, the National Forest Foundation, Summit County Open Space and Trails, Friends of the Dillon Ranger District, Colorado Division of Parks and Wildlife, Summit County Government. We have the Colorado Basin Roundtable, and we also have the Colorado Water Conservation Board. We have Keystone Science School, Trout Unlimited, and the Town of Frisco. So those are the people I wanted to let you know that they're really responsible for a lot of this work, and especially the Forest Service. They're not only helping us with this project, we have another project underway in the Upper Swan, which ultimately is going to remove a couple miles of dredge rock and create about 17 miles of native cutthroat trout fishery, which doesn't exist today. So we not only get hope from the Dillon Ranger District, but we've got a couple of hydrologists and engineers helping us from Glenwood and the Carbondale offices. So can't do anything without all these people, and most of them are standing right here. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thanks, Steve. And that's a great way to end the presentations, because this really is all about partnerships. And so it's about coming together and really improving the forest land. So thanks again for coming out. Thanks for being such great partners, all of you. Without you, none of this work would be possible. Enjoy the food, enjoy the drink, and in a little while we'll go for a walk down the trail and hear more about the Peaks Trail. So thanks a lot. Thanks for coming.